Hello and welcome to JSB Talks Digital, the podcast for marketers, bloggers, business owners, and those of you bringing your skills into the digital age. I'm Joanne Sweeney-Burke, and this podcast is brought to you by Digital Training Institute. Coming up in today's show, Workplace by Facebook launches, Facebook releases new events app, new Snapchat update replaces auto advance with story playlists. I interview Shifra J, a millennial social media enthusiast. Web Summit debuts in Lisbon. Jack Dorsey rallies the Twitter troops. Why Trump and Clinton are killing my social experience. JSB's column, measuring what matters in Facebook ads. And Ripple, the social media tool that saved my working week.
Social media news.
This week in social media news, Facebook is dominating with further app releases. I attended last year's Web Summit in Dublin, and I listened intently to Nicola Mendelsohn, head of Facebook's EMEA region. She spoke about Facebook's priorities being video, native and live, Facebook at work, augmented reality, and Messenger. It came as no surprise to me when I saw a reworked Workplace by Facebook being released this week. Nicola told us at Dublin's RDS last November that 300 companies would trial Facebook at work from March of this year, and using it initially for internal communications. I suspect these trials have resulted in their new product being launched to us this week. Facebook says that now more than 1,000 organisations around the world use Workplace. People have created nearly 100,000 groups, and the top 5 countries using Workplace are India, the US, Norway, UK, and France. I have signed up for Workplace by Facebook for Digital Training Institute. Will you? Every day, more than 100 million people, about 9% of Facebook's daily audience, use the social network's events feature. So, Facebook's new standalone events app will maximise the potential of this audience. People can browse events based on when and where they're scheduled, as well as what types of events they're interested in attending, including events posted by pages. They can also check out a map view to plot out plans by proximity and search for events in specific cities. When people RSVP to attend an event, that event will be added to an in-app calendar so that people can keep tabs on their plans. I haven't got the events app yet, but I certainly will be downloading it when it arrives in Ireland. Are you tired of auto story play in Snapchat? Are you constantly exiting out of stories to avoid some friends? Well, it seems Snapchat has spotted a better way for us to view stories. The new Snapchat update replaces auto advance with story playlists. Currently, when a user finishes watching another user's story, the app automatically begins the next person's story. However, with playlists, we will be able to organise stories depending on our interests. Great idea, Snapchat. I'm really happy with this update. Let me know what you think. Snap me to JSB Snaps.
Interview.
In this week's show, I'm joined by 21-year-old Shifra J, a millennial social media enthusiast. Shifra is a final year economics and political science student at Trinity College Dublin. Shifra, you're very welcome to JSB Talks Digital. Thanks so much for joining me on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to take part.
So Shifra, you're on this podcast because I'm hugely interested in your social media habits. First of all, tell us what social networks you actively use on a daily basis.
Yeah, well, for me, there's kind of 2 huge ones, and that's Facebook and Instagram. And then at the moment, because I'm in final year, everyone's starting to apply for jobs, and part of that is also preparing an impressive LinkedIn profile, which honestly it's just another social network, but with a more professional twist. It's all about marketing yourself, really.
So how would you describe your personal use of social media? Is it mainly to communicate with your friends, with college peers, or are you interested now, given the stage in your life, in personal branding and online reputation?
Yeah, well, for me, my huge attraction to social media started from a young age, I would say, because when I was 14, I moved from Singapore to Ireland. So social media platforms such as Facebook, and it was MySpace at the time, I think, became this really important lifeline to my old life and keeping in contact with my old friends. And just that skill that it built of networking and personal networking and being able to, keep in contact with people all over the world. I have family in Australia and Singapore and Malaysia and all like that. And then now taking that skill to the next level, now that I'm graduating and trying to market myself and network in a more professional way as well. I think it's always been a really valuable communication tool for me and for my entire generation, really. I don't think we realize how lucky we are to have everything available at our fingertips all the time,
Given that your family is international, Shifra, were your parents more supportive of social media use?
Oh, absolutely. And it was a way for my family to keep in touch and kind of keep tabs on each other and, say happy birthday when it's people's birthdays and see what people are up to. And especially for the younger generation, because I think that, so much happens so quickly that it's nice to be able to kind of check up on someone and see, oh, they were traveling recently, or, oh, they've got into this university now. It's nice in that sense that you feel a lot closer. Just it's such an important role in globalization, really, isn't it? And just making the world a much smaller place.
Absolutely. Now, I've been studying the use of the social web by Gen Z and Millennials for a number of years now. More recently, I'm beginning to realise that the initial overposting by teens and tweens has died down in favour of private messaging apps. Is that your experience also?
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember when Facebook first started out, and I used to put up a daily status nearly, honestly, almost every day you'd have up song lyrics or just what your feelings were or anything like that. But maybe from the transition from MSN, where you would have a tagline, that would start conversations with people, and then we all moved to Facebook and kind of carried that tradition with us. But I think as you get older, your problems and emotions become a lot more complex, and you're less likely to want to share that so publicly. And maybe a sense of maturity as well. When I have a problem nowadays, I like to think I tend to deal with it in a better manner than updating my Facebook status to say, having a terrible day, someone messaged me kind of thing.
How do you think your peers are building opportunities by their use of social media? Do you think that they have self-awareness around their own personal brand and their own potential online?
Yeah, well, I think it's such an incredible thing to have this platform available to you to express yourself, to the world, really, if you have a public profile. And I have friends who've used their Instagram accounts to pioneer fashion blogs, and now they're, nearly world famous for it. And I have other friends who've jump-started their music careers by promoting themselves as artists through Instagram and as musicians through Facebook. And I think the online potential is massive, and it's a matter of putting time and work and creativity into your accounts. And then it also is a little bit of luck and just hoping for the best out of it. But I know for me, I always loved posting photos on Instagram. I jumped on the Instagram bandwagon a lot quicker than I did on Twitter or anything else, because I'm a lot more of a visual person. And I never really did it thinking about what would come out of it. So in that sense, I suppose I wasn't as aware of my own online potential until later. It was more just of a personal hobby, but I was lucky then, a few years ago, I got scouted over Instagram to sign to 2 different modeling agencies. And then after that, would get offered modeling jobs through photographers or artists that would stumble across my account. And that was massive for me, because I never started an account thinking, I'll aim to try and get this done now. I kind of just fell into it. And then it was only after I fell into it that I realized, how massive the online potential is. And then I was able then to use my own personal Instagram accounts. I'm not world famous. I have about 1,500 followers, but I was able to use that as an example to prospective employers then over the summer as to why I would be capable of managing their social media marketing. So it's funny the way you can twist these skills and tools that you learn at a very young age through social media into real world life skills then that, really make you far more employable.
So tell me, how important are the numbers versus the importance of the quality of the content that you're posting? Because, I work with clients on their social media marketing accounts, and sometimes they get obsessed by the numbers and I warn them about vanity numbers, and I try and get them to focus on the content. But in terms of your generation, are numbers really important?
I would say they are, but I think that there's this thing as well that, it's one thing having 3,000 followers, but that's not worth anything to you if your photos are only getting 30 likes. So it's about having active followers. That's the key thing. And also, whenever you're transferring that to real life skills as well, like that's a lot more impressive to be able to say, you had this many active followers rather than just having loads of followers but nobody engaging, because, from a marketing point of view, you want people to be constantly engaging with your posts as well.
Let's talk about the pressure on young people right now to have that, inverted commas, perfect life and to look their best online. Instagram in particular is a very visual platform, and it's also the fastest growing social network, and it is producing the most social media stars alongside YouTube. But if we look at so-called role models, Kim Kardashian, Kendall, Jenner, how does your generation look at those, and do you look up to them? Are they huge influencers?
Yeah, I mean, I think you really do have to try and take it all with a grain of salt. And I think the older that you get, the better you get at doing this. But there's definitely massive, massive pressure on young people. And I think the younger you are, the worse it probably is. And just this whole idea that, you have to take 50 different selfies until you get the selfie that's good enough to post on your account, whether it's your Facebook profile picture you're changing or just an Instagram post you're putting up. It's really damaging to young people's self-worth and their own self-confidence. This idea that it's not okay to look one step down from perfect, but you have to get this absolutely perfect lighting and angle. And, we've all been sucked into it at one point or another. We'll take a few photos until we're happy with one photo, and that's okay as long as it's, as long as it's not that serious and as long as it's not really damaging to your own self-confidence. I think it's probably all about striking a balance. I mean, I get sucked into Kendall Jenner's Instagram all the time, and I think she's absolutely gorgeous. But I'm also aware that that's not how she looks every day, and that's not how she looks, first thing in the morning when she wakes up. But no, I admire the people who've created businesses and employment opportunities through their social media accounts, because it is difficult and it is a lot of hard work, but I just think it's good to balance it with real world happiness as well.
So you've mentioned maturity as being one of the key factors in being a grounded social media enthusiast. However, who do you think is teaching, Gen Z, the generation below you, how to mind their online reputation? Or do you think they actually have enough of their own self-awareness and enough of their own knowledge and common sense to do it on their own, or is there a vacuum?
No, I actually think it's probably a massive gap, and it's something that I know, from following you even, that you do so much positive work with this, but it's definitely a huge gap. And I think it's not until you get to a university level that people kind of reach the point that they start deleting photos off Facebook and screening through their friends list. But they realize nearly too late how important minding your online reputation is. But I mean, for us, the social media fiasco came out of nowhere for my generation. Like, I can remember when you still had to use dial-up, for the internet. And then all of a sudden we were bombarded with this social media boom, and it was like MSN, MySpace, Bebo, Facebook, Tumblr, everything so quickly. And it happened over such a relatively short period of time that education hasn't really had the time to catch up and to reflect such a rapid transformation in the social and tech world. And it's caught up in the sense that, we get ECDL classes now in school, and I think a lot of people probably do that across Europe and internationally too. But what we really need is online safety classes. You need to be, even if it's once a week, and just make the time for it. And online safety classes, and especially now with this whole epidemic with online bullying, people need to know how to mind their own online reputation, but also how to mind themselves while being online. This whole sense of safety,
Shifra, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And to my listeners, you can follow Shifra J on Instagram. She's at Shifra Clare, and I'll spell that out. That's SHIOFRACLARE. Thank you so much for joining me on today's show, Shifra, and I know we'll continue the digital citizenship conversation offline.
Thanks for having me, Joanne.
Shoutouts.
In this part of the show, I give shoutouts to those who are remarkable online and worth talking about. The Web Summit is happening in Lisbon for the first time next month. I've been at this digital showcase for the past 2 years in Dublin, but can't make it this year due to other speaking commitments. Paddy Cosgrave, the founder of the Web Summit, who just became a dad, tells us that 50,000 delegates from 164 countries will be flying into Portugal's capital. Tickets are still on sale if you want to go. I can highly recommend it, but a piece of advice: have meetings pre-set up, as it's almost like a digital zoo. Log on to websummit.net to book now. I've been reading that Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey has been rallying troops ahead of a sale fall through. In an internal memo released to all staff and seen by Bloomberg this week, Jack apparently writes, "We're only limited by our sense of urgency. Life is short, every day matters, and the people who use Twitter every day deserve our best. They are why we're here. So let's show them what we're made of and deliver a better Twitter faster than they thought possible. We can do this every day. We can do this." Salesforce.com, the Walt Disney Company, and Alphabet Inc.'s Google all hired bankers to consider a bid for Twitter, but are now unlikely to do so after pressure from their shareholders. So, my friends, Twitter is still in the hands of its original owners. Why Trump and Clinton are killing my social experience. This week I'm having a bit of a rant. I'm allowed, it's my show. I'm giving a shout out to these two today, not to canvass votes for either of them, but to tell you why they are ruining my social media experience. Everywhere I go online, they are both looking out at me. I guess the social networks are capitalising on one of the world's biggest news stories. But it goes to show you in life, biggest doesn't always mean most important. So, I'm asking you, if you see a cause that needs a boost, do me a favour, give it a like and a share, a regram or a repost, and spread the social media love for stories that really matter to humanity. Okay, rant over, back to business, JSB.
JSB's column.
What Facebook metrics should we be measuring in ads? One of the biggest benefits of using Facebook for business to business or business to consumer is being able to collect qualified leads for your business or creating warm audiences. Any business serious about social media marketing will use this tactic to drive leads, sales, and other valuable conversions. Facebook has over 1.3 billion active daily users and growing. Without doubt, Facebook has unrivaled customer data, providing marketers with an opportunity to speak directly to those interested in their product or service. While Facebook boasts the largest community of daily users, we are only ever served an average of 1,500 posts per day into our newsfeed. It is not possible for us to see everything our friends and fan pages post. However, if we pay to play on Facebook, we can strategically target businesses and serve our content to them directly. So, to gain visibility for your Facebook ads, you must be tactical in your approach to audience targeting. Here's my recommended values for the metrics that we should be measuring. Click-through rate. This should be over 1%. If it is less than 1%, then that's an indication that your ad copy, imaging, or targeting needs to be changed. Cost per website click. Aim to have your CPC less than $1 or €1, and preferably a lot less. You should also keep an eye on the frequency of the ad and the relevancy score. The frequency reflects the number of times a person has seen your ad. Once it gets over 3, keep a close eye on the CTR and CPC to make sure ad performance isn't declining. In relation to relevancy score, ads receive a relevancy score between 1 and 10, with 10 being the highest. The score is updated as people interact and provide feedback on the ad. The score you should be aiming for should be greater than 5. The higher the score, the lower the cost to target people. If you want to know how to create a custom audience, target the right customers, reduce the cost of your Facebook ads, jump over to my blog digitaltraining.ie and I'll show you how. Facebook advertising is hugely powerful, But in order to be successful with ads, you need to be strategic and collect qualified leads.
Social media tool of the week.
The social media tool that saved my working week this week is mobile app Ripple. I am always on the go, running in heels, rushing from one meeting to another, selling, consulting, training, podcasting, and speaking. So often I create social media graphics on my iPhone. Ripple is one of my favourite visual storytelling apps, as it combines photos, text, and music, which you can then share on your favourite social networks. Here's how Ripple works. Add photos and/or text to include in your post. Choose a design, which you can then customise. Write a caption, add trending hashtags, add your music, save, and share on social media. Ripple is currently only available to iOS users on the App Store. However, you can sign up for the Android waiting list. Just log on to ripple.com, and that's RIPL.com. Thank you as always for tuning in to JSB Talks Digital. I'm really enjoying my weekly sessions in the studio, and I hope you are enjoying listening to my digital marketing musings. I'm planning another Facebook Live version of this podcast soon, so please watch out for that. As always, I'll have everything discussed on today's show on my blog at digitaltraining.ie. To ensure you never miss an episode of JSB Talks Digital, make sure you subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. No excuses to miss me every Friday. If you're interested in becoming a guest on JSB Talks Digital or have an event you want to promote, please drop me an email to joanne@digitaltraining.ie and write podcast in the subject line. If there's a topic you want me to cover, please tweet me at tweetsbyjsb or snap me at JSBsnaps. I'm Joanne Sweeney-Burke. This has been JSB Talks Digital. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.
JSB Talks Digital.